Well, this clip definitely did not age well.
Your luggage will get you new luggage! Where you going? Run all the way back to L.A.!
Sergio's chasing us!
This is the longest hallway of the...
Yep, as all of this is happening right now, as Russell Brand is facing some serious allegations and now charges by the Metropolitan Police in London that announced that they are summoning Russell Brand back over to the United Kingdom, where he is going to be facing his accusers of 15 to 20 years ago against some really heinous allegations and acts that he allegedly committed against these, quote, women. What's really going on here? Is this something that is very political? As this has been ongoing for quite a while, this next step by the Brits here is really interesting in hindsight with everything else that's happening here politically as well. As Russell Brand even admitted himself, hey, he was very promiscuous before. What's the truth here? Well, let's do our best to try to get to the bottom of it. As I think the Daily Mail definitely had a not so favorable take on this entire matter, titling this, Katy Perry's ex, Russell Brand, is charged with forcing himself on women. Why did they have to do him like that? I don't know. But it seems like people either love or hate Russell Brand. A lot of people in the establishment really do hate him. A lot of people in the anti-establishment really do like him. And he has become definitely a bully pulpit. He has definitely become a spokesperson criticizing the UK government and a lot of government's overreach, as of course Russell Brand responded to all of this. We're going to be playing his response here in just a little bit here. But again, he was charged with multiple incidences, multiple women, 4 of them now coming forward, and now officially being charged with forcing himself on a woman, indecent assault, oral forcing himself, and 2 counts of SA against the women that have come forward here, as now detectives have began their investigation and have officially decided to charge and accuse him, which of course Russell Brand will be defending himself, as the Metropolitan Police officially now will be trying to get Russell Brand from Florida back to the United Kingdom to face his accusers and face the state that has been going after him in more ways than one. As Russell Brand decided to respond to all of this by recently just releasing this video on social media.
Hello. Firstly, thank you for these incredible and overwhelming messages of support. We're very fortunate, in a way, to live in a time where there's so little trust in the British government. We're very fortunate, I suppose, that this is happening at a time where we know that the law has become a kind of weapon to be used against people, institutions, and sometimes entire nations that will not accept and tolerate levels of corruption that are unprecedented. I'm speaking particularly to those of you that are watching this in the UK. How do you feel about your legal system right now? How do you feel about some of the high-profile cases that are not being pursued and prosecuted? How do you feel that the Southport murders were handled? How do you feel about the government of Keir Starmer? Now, that's just sort of general context. Me, I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, who were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict.
As of course, then he said specifically that he did not SA anyone or force himself on anyone, and told everyone to look into his eyes in order to, quote, believe him. This as Charlie Kirk officially responded to this by saying, quote, every single allegation against Russell Brand concerns events that took place 20 years ago or more. None of them existed while he was a famous actor or comedian. All of them emerged once he became a highly visible dissident on politics and the global sickness. Brand has been forthright about his behavior as a young man, but the idea that he was a serial SAR is absurd and, more importantly, completely unproven. This is political prosecution, plain and simple, as now the very kind of biased court system and political system in the United Kingdom will be determining his fate here if Russell Brand even decides to go back to the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom has been becoming more and more politically abusive against any kind of ideas that go up against the grain. There's multiple individuals that are visited by police, some of them charged, some of them arrested for making memes, for making jokes, for having private conversations that the government deemed too inappropriate, even though they were private. The UK government has been on one recently, as this government specifically is trying to make a white boy the face of knife crime, as they specifically detailed an incident that didn't include a white boy. But they are now making it mandatory viewing for all school children in the United Kingdom to see this propaganda film that, of course, is pointing the finger directly at alternative independent media and people who are countering the message to a lot of their woke nonsense and insanity. And one of the people that I think has been most effective against countering a lot of their propaganda, a lot of their nonsense, a lot of their hypocrisy is Russell Brand. He has mainstream media appeal here. He's the guy that, of course, has been talking about this for a year. This has been going on for quite a while, as last year, Russell Brand released this video specifically talking about how the media organizations were coming to him and telling him, hey, you better get off social media, as the UK government had an official campaign that they were running trying to kick Russell Brand off of social media so he wouldn't have any kind of voice at all. So previously, beforehand, the UK government was trying to stifle and destroy his speech, and now it looks like they've just stepped it up a notch and are going to be doing it in a different way. But this is a video from, by the way, a year ago when these allegations kind of first surfaced, and of course they were always kind of milling around. But before playing that video, we want to tell you about wearechange.shop, as of course we got the No More Drama from Your Baby Mama bundle that we just created right now just for Mother's Day. We got 4 items. 2 of them are limited edition, just made exclusively by Stephanie, our button pusher. It's her company, and she made this really cool magnesium mist, which is really great for especially sore feet, and this eye roller that is really good for all the people's eyes that are exhausted by, of course, looking at social media and the screens all the fricking time. We also added some common sense creatine in there, magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate definitely helps out the nervous system. Common sense creatine just in general, an awesome substance that helps out the brain and cognitive function of older individuals. And the studies that are coming out from that are really breakthrough. And if, we did this bundle because it's like, okay, what do I get my mother? Or what do I get, the woman in my life that's having my babies? We just made it easy for you. So you guys don't have to plan. We put it in a nice box. We're going to write Happy Mother's Day on it, and we're going to make it really nice. So it's a collaboration edition special bundle with Stephanie the Button Pusher that created 2 products, and we are selling her products with our products just for this Mother's Day. So of course your baby mamas are going to be happy out there, as well as your mamas, that you should always be very considerate and loving towards. And you get 30% off of this bundle. And, it's just easy. I'm like, what the hell do I get my mom? This is some good stuff that will definitely help her out in more ways than one. All right. Now, let's go back to what Russell Brand was saying over a year ago when these allegations once again came up, and there was a coordinated attack using these allegations trying to take him down.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack, and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff, like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute.
Yep, as the mainstream media really hates, and the mainstream media works with the government doing these coordinated attacks here, trying to bring people down. But they really hate someone who was a part of their crew that, of course, defected, got away from the mainstream media, got away from Hollywood, and now is speaking out against them. He's a threat because he knows how the system operates, but he also knows where the bodies are buried. As Russell Brand previously criticized the UK government over their censorship efforts, and then the UK government tried to censor Russell Brand. This is after all of the allegations. Social media companies literally went around big tech platforms, and they said, hey, you got to demonetize him. You got to deplatform him. You got to take away his ability to make money here since, of course, that was his avenue. That was his platform. His previous platform, his previous avenue was Hollywood. His previous platform was all the corporate media that loved him and cheered him and celebrated him and never said anything about him when he was his wildest, drunkest, craziest, partying self. Now that he got sober, found God, that's when they decided to, of course, attack him at the same time that he is exposing them and talking about all of the horrible things that they have been doing. I don't know about you, but this seems more and more like an illegitimate attack here. Now, what are we going to be finding out here? Because, again, people who party, people who do abuse substances, again, the guy was at a Diddy party. Well, he had an explanation to what he did at the Diddy party in a little bit here. But there's a possibility here, and I think a smaller one. The more you start looking into the story and the more you start looking into the history between the British government and Russell Brand, the more you start looking into just how recently abusive the British government has become, this looks more and more like a very similar case that happened to Julian Assange, which also was an individual that was falsely accused of forcing himself on other women. When the charges and the details came out, they were the exact opposite of that, as, of course, a lot of this was consensual. There was allegedly cuddling that happened that was not. And what looks like really happened here was that this was a setup, as Julian Assange, for a long period of time, was literally in London at an Ecuadorian embassy facing multiple charges, multiple allegations, and this is what they used to smear him and attack him, since he was extremely effective against the system, against the Borg, against the governments out there that really do play in a very underhanded, unfair way, trying to set people up and destroy their lives because they are journalists, because they are outspoken, because they are critical of some of the abuses that the government commits against their own fellow citizenry, as they are the real abusers here, as, of course, Sweden dropped the charges, dropped the investigation, and you got to kind of ask yourself, it is kind of perplexing that in the United Kingdom, the same place where, I believe this was the same police department, that came out and publicly said, yeah, Prince Andrew, we know, hung out with a lot of people who hurt children. We know, sweating like a hoe in church when asked about hanging out with Epstein and his relationship with it, which he knowingly lied about, by the way. We know there's accusers coming forward and directly pinpointing him as, of course, Harvey Weinstein was hanging out, with the royal family and him. Kevin Spacey was as well. Epstein was as well. It was a big old party. They were having all fun. As a British royal family has a lot of connections there, specifically to some really seedy, awful human beings. But I believe it was the same police department that said, yeah, we're just not going to investigate this. It's not important to us. There's grooming gangs out there. There's literal organizations out there that have hurt thousands of children in the United Kingdom, and the UK police came out with a statement saying, yeah, we were worrying about, upsetting some people, so we just let it slide. We let it happen here. But you're a white male. Nope, they're going to go after you as fiercely and ferociously as they can here. Now, again, lots of questions still remain about these Diddy parties and these Diddy associations. I know a lot of people are going to be bringing up today. Russell Brand did address this previously beforehand, and this is what he had to say about it. As I think there's now multiple instances of him addressing this and talking about this, since a lot of people see this as a big issue.
You did take invites from Diddy, Russell, says Central Scrutinizer. I went to one white party, and I'll tell you the truth, it was actually a little bit boring. Certainly, I didn't get a whiff of baby oil while I was there. If I did, maybe Diddy might have sort of slipped past in Crocs and socks a little bit. What's that smell? What kind of... Yo, Puffy, what brand of baby oil are you using over there, man? That smells tight.
This, as he reported, of course, going home and hanging out with Tom Green. And there's videos of him and Tom Green showing. There's videos of an egg that a lot of people are extrapolating to mean something a little bit more weirder. I don't know if that's true. I haven't been able to verify it. But again, in this world of Hollywood, it's important to know they cannibalize their own. They destroy their own all the freaking time, especially when you start speaking out against them. Now, what's kind of my assessment in here? Again, we don't know until we actually hear some actual proof and evidence here. Do I see something potentially happening here? I don't know. When you party and when you do drugs, a lot of wild stuff can happen, especially when you're super famous and you're super rich and you're in that world. Is what's happening now political? I believe so. I believe there's an absolute element of people in the British government that are saying, listen, yeah, forget those grooming gangs. Yeah, forget these actual criminals here. Let's spend our time, because this is what they're dealing with. They're dealing with huge, egregious crimes that are being committed against their population. And they're saying, yeah, 20 years ago, something might have maybe happened. Let's get them. Let's take them down. The guy, I think he legitimately is reformed. I met him on a couple of occasions. I think he legitimately now is someone who believes in God and Jesus. And for the British police now to get him, to me, is extremely peculiar and absolutely something that is with a larger political motivation, trying to set up a chilling effect, trying to destroy one of their previous foot soldiers that deserted and now is leaking all of their secrets to them. This is retribution. I think it's pretty clear that it is, regardless of what you think happened 20 plus years ago. And what do you think? How guilty do you think Russell Brand is? Let me know down in the comment section below. And should he face very serious consequences for something 20 freaking years ago? Again, this is all absolutely just absurd. If you agree, share this video. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.